Today on Parts Hold, we are going to talk about how new and used car sales can affect the parts department and what the best parts managers are doing to try to combat if there's a reduction in car sales. We're also going to talk about Cliff and his upcoming vacation and also a little bit of insight that he gained from his last week out where he visited 3 parts departments in 1 week. That and much, much more coming up today on Parts Hold.
Here to fill the order.
Isn't it hard to believe that this is our 35th episode? Doesn't it feel like we just started this thing?
It does. Yeah, that's shocking to me that we've done that many of these.
We've come a long way since that huge green screen and getting this thing started.
Although I shared with you the other day, I'd love to figure out how to get back to LA just to record some, and it's so much fun being out there.
Yeah, you're overdue for a trip out here. So, plus then I can make fun of you because you'll be hobbled and maybe now you can't keep up with me. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But we'll have to see. And then I also got an interesting request from Cliff the other day. I got a vacation request. So
yeah,
tell the audience where you're headed.
Oh, we're doing a cruise. We're doing another cruise. And I know you think it's a death trap on the sea, but
what could go wrong?
It's wintertime, and I need some sun and heat and ocean in my life.
So where are you headed?
I think we're going to Mexico this time, and maybe Jamaica, I think. And I could be wrong about that, but there's 4 stops. It's 7 days.
So you'll go to Mexico, the Yucatan side then. So
yeah,
like Jamaica and then travel over,
yeah, Cozumel maybe, and then there's another Playa del Carmen maybe is the place or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. We do have 3 days at sea this time, which that's a little bit risky.
I will tell you this: if you go to Jamaica and you ride in a car, you'll immediately think I'm a better driver, because it's frightening.
Yeah, I think anywhere like that is pretty frightening, and because I'm from North Carolina, okay, we have a thing up here that we kind of believe that people from South Carolina are a little bit worse drivers than we are.
What's your basis for that?
Just hearsay.
Like, there's no fact. It's just like, yeah, we're on top of them, so the South, they don't drive as well. But in Jamaica, they're one lane roads where you drive both directions. And what happens is that on this one lane road, when there's 2 cars, like one hangs off half the road and the other one runs into a cliff, and then they get past each other somehow. It is absolutely mind-blowing. And the last time I went there, all I could do was look down. Like, I don't get scared by too many people driving because I'm not a great driver. So there's I have life-threatening trips, multiple times per week. But they seriously are trying to kill people or goats, one of the two, when it comes to Jamaica driving.
We went to St. Thomas in April of last year, and I drove. I rented a car and everything. They drive on the left side of the road, and everybody, everywhere you go, it says stay left. And so it's just
they have to remind you that it's left side driving.
They remind everybody, yes. And I remember one of the locals told me that basically they didn't care if you drank, if you did this, if you were talking on your phone. Nothing mattered as far as driving. It was a free for all. They just wanted you to buckle your seatbelt.
Buckle your seatbelt and stay left. That's all the advice you ever need.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you this, though, in retrospect to South Carolina drivers, I just recently was in an area that I think that they have far worse drivers. I was able to visit a bunch of stores in this area during the week. It was a great week.
And I know the state, not too far away from North Carolina.
No, it's not at all. But I did mention that to several people around town or within these stores, and they all agreed with me.
Oh, that drivers in Virginia are worse than other states. Yeah.
Yes,
Now that was kind of an interesting thing, right? Because you went to 3 parts departments in 5 days. Do I have that right?
I did. Yes, yeah. I was able to spend
How
five
how hard
days.
did how hard was that?
It was hard to devote my time to each one, but it was super. That team was so engaged and so much fun. Like we had a blast. Set up some policies and some procedures and some systems for their growth. And yeah, man, there's some guys there's some parts managers there in that organization, super
Yeah,
talented
that
guys.
yep, that well, guys and ladies too. But
Yeah, I didn't get so there wasn't any ladies where the stores I went to. It was just uh, three male managers, but
yeah, they're no joke.
yeah,
But the thing that I would say, it's been almost a year now. I went there at the beginning of 2023, and I taught a class in that with that group. And by far, some of the most creative questions and like the most insight came from the parts managers. And it was a parts and service manager and also general managers all in the same class. And the parts managers stood out as the most inquisitive, and they kind of got the lessons that we're trying to do. And
wow,
there's some awesome service managers and some amazing general managers in that group as well. But I remembered the parts managers really sticking out in terms of like trying to find a better way to do things. And the other thing that kind of came out of that class is because we did mock morning meetings. You've seen me do this in master classes before. And the parts managers were great. Like they could
yeah.
run a morning meeting. It was really cool to see how they kind of created ways to get their teams engaged and everything like that. And parts managers, like, don't count them out ever, because they're talented. Just because they don't talk all the time doesn't mean that they're not paying attention. And I loved that about that group. And I'm glad you got to go to 3 different stores. But you guys made a lot of progress in a really short amount of time, right?
Yeah, we had a great visit, great outcome, and again, just some super talented guys. One of the things that I find most fascinating a lot of times when you're talking to these guys is how the pathway which that got them to where they are. Because I
Super
think of it,
unique in that particular group, right?
yeah, just for me, mine's kind of boring. You start out when you're super young and those sorts of things. But those guys, um, listening to their story was really, really fun to get to hear and be a part of, and learn some history for the organization too. Super fascinating.
Yeah, my favorite is Clay, that used to be uh, he was a sales manager, right?
Yeah, he was a buyer, so now there's two buyers. So you had Clay and then Fred at one of the stores. Like they both say found the same pathway. They got them from buyers and used car inventory managers into parts managers.
Yeah, that's fun. Um,
Yeah,
so it's super cool. But yeah, they're definitely grooming people to become general managers out of the parts room.
yeah,
Don't you think?
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's tons of, and I'm not just there. There's some other places that I've spoken to some parts managers on, and had to encourage them that, hey, you may need to reinvent yourself and change chairs at some point.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Don't just look here. You know.
Yeah, don't limit your talents to the parts room.
Mm, yeah.
So that's funny, because we have an adjacent topic today, and we're talking about how do new car sales, used car sales affect the parts department. And it's really easy to just on a whim say, not that big of a deal. It doesn't matter if we sell a lot of cars or not. We still can run a really healthy parts department. But at the end of the day, the truth is that can affect it, and it sometimes can affect it in a really major way depending on how your dealership's built. But we kind of have 3 main like points that will affect, right? And for every one of these points, there's also a way to kind of circumvent the lack of car sales and supplement the loss in revenue, from a new or used car. And just being really, really creative about what to do if the sales start to dip a little bit, which they may or may not do in 2024. It looks like it's supposed to, but I don't know. This business is super funny.
Yeah.
Right when you think you got it figured out, it'll change on you. So go ahead. You got that list kind of. I don't think it's in any particular order, right?
It's no particular order. But when we're talking about could sales go down with the, the availability of cars, with interest rates, all those things, I think we've got to get better on the fixed side and specifically within the parts department. But number one is with sales down, it's going to affect service revenue. And when that affects service revenue, I'm directly correlating that into the parts department.
Okay, so there's less used car inspections. There's less PDIs. What else do you see a reduction in?
Well, there could be a less RO count. You know, the whole thing. If sales decline, less cars are coming in, and so there's some opportunities there. One of the areas that I think about, and it could kind of pair this in another area that we're going to talk about, but if new cars are not coming in, automatically accessories are going to decline.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is that, if they're not selling a bunch of cars, the sales department might be a little more sensitive to recon costs. So something that might have been a cosmetic repair that would have had parts on it and everything like that might not be done now because they're trying to maximize the few cars that they do sell. They want to see if they can't make a little more profit on it. So they might choose not to do some of those cosmetic sales. That could affect the parts department for sure, right?
Yeah. So, and this is the time that a lot of places are building, forecasts and budgets and all those things for the future. That's got to be part of your strategy and how you're going to approach that and planning on that. I'm not suggesting you back down on any forecast. What I'm telling you is really uh, be a better planner on how you're going to attack that. Be more offensive.
Yeah. Not offensive, offensive.
Yeah, not offensive. We could be that too. There have been times done that.
Great. Okay. I
Yeah.
like that. So I think the obvious is that repair order counts are going to go down, which is going to reduce the amount of parts we put on our O's. So that was kind of like the give me. What else do you see?
Yeah. So the second thing is retention. And oftentimes that's related to a service term. But what I'm talking about is a parts retention and where we're purchasing. You hit on something just a minute ago. As the decline in sales goes down, people are used car managers, general sales managers are really, really conscious of how much they're paying. But I got to figure out a way to keep that in house. And so I've got to build a plan around that. However, I got to retain all that purchasing power in house is would be my first plan.
That's great. Yeah, so maybe you have to get really creative if whether it's with tires or with wheels or whatever it is, where stuff normally you'd have a tire guy come in and do a thing, or you'd have a wheel guy come in and do a thing. You might want to see what you can do about keeping stuff in house. That's a huge opportunity, and then getting creative with sourcing parts. I think at that point, right? So when
Yeah,
it comes to recon, I think well, I mean, almost anything we do, like the first step is, well, can we get it from the manufacturer, right? But when we're having to get creative on the sales side, you might want to look at alternative sourcing for some of this stuff. And
yeah. I
maybe
mean,
eBay is a place, maybe Amazon's a place that you have to go to get parts.
I think anything should be open up for discussion as far as that goes. Is where I'm sourcing it. I just want to keep all that purchasing as a parts manager. I want to be the guy that's purchasing all that stuff.
Yeah, you
Um,
want to control your own destiny. That makes
yeah,
sense.
I don't want to let that go elsewhere. The other thing with the retention item too that I kind of thought about is the intention on the boutiques and showrooms that we build. Like, and my intention about attracting them to the area. If we have less people purchasing cars, maybe they're getting their car serviced, and so I want to be strategic about the way I market that.
Yeah. So what are things when you think about a boutique, right? So what kind of things if you're struggling in car sales, people aren't coming into the dealership as often, what are your thoughts in terms of how a boutique can be a thing that can attract clients to come in?
Well, so when we're talking about a boutique, my mind first goes to a place of being able to market my area. So if I'm close to the water, close to the ocean, close to a lake or whatever, maybe it's some type of boating, maybe it's sunglasses or coolers or whatever the case is. If I'm close to an outdoors area, maybe I'm more focused on presenting that outdoor lifestyle. And so maybe it's camping apparel or camping items or whatever that is. Even in large metropolitan areas, maybe it's an ease of life and lifestyle, and how can I
Oh yeah, I think
approach that?
like bike racks and stuff like that. I think about that
Yeah,
stuff all the time. Ski racks. The thing I would say is, don't you think just kind of this is a broad statement, but overall, I think that manufacturers have stepped up their accessory game and really
without
started to
question.
kind of hit it towards lifestyle. So I think that knowing your area, knowing your market, what people are doing, and then being the place that they go, because if you don't put it in their face that you're there, so there's a marketing aspect to this, right? Where normally dealerships will spend their advertising dollars for sales. Maybe there's a little budget that needs to go to the parts department to let people know what we have in our boutique. And then the other thing is that you have to look at it as your boutique. Is that a store, or is it literally just kind of checking a box to say that you have it? It has to have intention, and really, it's got to be a place that people want to come and look at some of the cool stuff. So I
Yeah,
think you make your boutique a store is the right way to keep people.
and in a lot of cases, I could take that store elsewhere. You and I talked about events, like creating an event and having an event. Um, I think is a tremendous way to do that. I automatically thought of car shows and being able to attract people who are really, there's tons of people who are really car people, and attracting them, getting them out from home to come and see things, and setting up displays and having other vendors there to be able to do displays is a great opportunity.
Yeah, you really stuck when we were talking about this before. You stuck traditional. I went a little bit outside the box, right?
Yeah, and I loved it.
So one of the things that I was kind of thinking of, what is it? So Cliff's in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the Carolina Panthers play. If anyone's ever heard of that football team, they're not
Mm.
doing very well this year. But
It's really really hard to be a fan right now. Just so you know,
yeah,
I'm putting that
it's
out there.
just preaching the choir as a Bears fan. So the thing that I kind of thought of is, let's say that you're a Chevy dealer in Charlotte, North Carolina. Like, why not host a tailgate party, right? Right in the lot at a Panthers game. Like, what kind of traction could you get there? Or it can be a baseball game, football game, hockey game. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But like, what's kind of a sporting event that might be big in your area where you can go and you can sponsor things? And like, my thought is that if you have Chevrolet branded Yeti coolers, like, that's pretty fun for people. And the tailgates where people are like, oh yeah, I need that cooler, and you can beef up your sales just by being in the place. And what we want is for people to think of the dealership when it comes time to do accessories. And I think that Chrysler's the easiest one, because I think they do probably better than anybody else with their accessories. Like,
Yeah.
literally, you can turn a Jeep into a tent. It's almost an RV, right? Like, it's pretty cool the stuff that they can do. And then, as great as the manufacturer is, there's almost cooler stuff on the aftermarket that you can get into your store. So I just think that there's just endless opportunity. If I'm going to kind of go crazy, I think it would be on accessories. And then, as a parts manager, how much we're talking about this, right? We're talking about the people that are parts managers, that could be future general managers. How valuable is it as a parts manager to get really good at marketing if you want to be a GM in the future?
It's a great tool to be able to have into your tool belt. Can I add one thing to your event thing? Because I was just thinking in my mind, because there's probably some managers that maybe don't have a professional sports team, but don't lose focus on that. That it doesn't have to necessarily be a professional team. It could be a AAA. In Charlotte, we have a great AAA team. That would be a great area to do it, and probably less money than a professional team in some cases.
Yeah, but you
Uh,
can have just as good a success for sure.
for sure. And even like where I live in particular, I'm not very far from the Speedway. Doing something with the Speedway, like when you were talking about that, I automatically started thinking about all the areas that you could put an event on that would be super, super attractive to people
How
that
many
are in
people
the
go
area.
to a race at Charlotte Motor Speedway?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what
60,000?
that's. Yeah, I have no idea what it what entails. By the way,
What a
I'm
what
not
a great
not a huge race fan, but I don't know when the last time you went to a NASCAR race was and hear the cars coming down the straightaway and the rumble in your chest.
It's
You ever
magical.
been? It is amazing.
So more than NASCAR to me, drag racing. If you want to feel the rumble in the chest,
Yes.
that's a
So
really
we,
fun event.
so right by Charlotte Motor Speedway, you have a drag strip. So you've got to be able to look at those areas. I mean, gosh, there's dirt tracks, there's motocross, there's so many avenues that you could go and be a part of and do an event at. Um,
Oh, I love it.
yeah,
I've really gotten into axe throwing lately.
we did that not this past Christmas Eve, but the one before that.
Yeah,
It was a great time.
axe throwing
Great
is
time.
amazing.
Yeah. Now the one that you have, I want to purchase. I actually saved that in my Amazon cart when you said it the other
Did
day.
you?
I sure did. Yeah,
Yeah,
because that'd be a great thing to do on rainy days like we've had recently here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I love it. Cool. Anything else
Um,
you want to kind of throw in on
yeah,
this?
yeah. The last thing I want to kind of throw in there, when you're thinking about car sales down, and when you're thinking about it from a general manager mindset or even a general sales manager mindset, I want to get really, really clean on my inventory to allow them the ability to purchase cars. And so I know that's probably a really controversial topic with parts managers out there, but the cleaner I can have my inventory and the better under control I have my inventory, the
Yeah, because
more opportunities,
you're not tying up capital.
yeah, the more opportunity they have to buy cars. From that standpoint, being really, really strategic about the way I'm managing my inventory and controlling my inventory would be another area that would be of utmost importance. My phase in, phase out, my returns to the manufacturer, all of those things is really, really important.
So you run it high and tight. You know what else I would do?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd do a referral program for wholesale vendors if they send you somebody that wants to buy a car.
Oh, I love that. A wanted poster.
A wanted poster.
I love
So
it.
there's
I
another
love
way
it.
to try to beef up. I mean, how would that be if parts was the savior of the sales department? Oh,
Oh my gosh.
we sold 20 cars last month out of the parts department. Like that's cool.
Yeah, if you're a parts manager and you sit in the manager's meeting and that said in the manager's meeting, something
You're
to
doing
boast about
okay.
right there. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So you want to recap the what to do in a parts department if the sales go down?
Yeah, focus on generating some revenue as sales revenue goes down. We're going to have to figure out a way to generate more revenue. And with that, we're going to have to get better at retention. And by retention, I mean strategically purchasing, not just retaining customer base. And then the last piece of that is running a really clean inventory.
I love it. Well, yeah. Look at this as an opportunity, not an issue. So there's no doubt in my mind that parts departments have all the opportunity in the world. And Chris Collins says that all the time. He says the opportunity of a lifetime comes around once a day. So
Yeah.
let's take advantage of that in our parts departments this year. And we're here for anything else you guys want to discuss or anything like that. Feel free to put it in the comments on the YouTube thing, or you can always email us at info@chriscollinsinc.com. But that'll do it for today's show, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Parts Hold.
Here to fill the order.